A future they never planned, but chose anyways. Smoke drifted through the trees. The underbrush crackled with scattered flames. Soldiers lay stunned or unconscious, some tangled in roots that hadn't been there moments before. The forest had begun to fight back, not like a weapon, but like a mother defending her young. At the heart of the chaos stood Kalan, bruised and breathing hard, shirt torn, arm bleeding. His rifle was gone. He had nothing left in his hands but a jagged survival blade. Before him, High Enforcer Viren approached slowly, eyes locked on him with burning hatred. Her golden armor shimmered, cracked in places, but still glowing with authority. "This is over, human," she hissed. "Step aside, or you'll die on your knees." Kalan stood tall, blood dripping from his lip. "Then I'll die standing in front of my family." Behind them, the mountain shook. A pulse of light burst from the cave, bright, warm, not destructive but undeniable. Viren flinched. Her guards looked around, confused, weapons twitching. Then another pulse came. Then a third. With each wave it felt less like danger and more like something waking up. And then he stepped into the clearing. Torin. The child born of two worlds, no older than a day, but walking, gliding, his small bare feet barely touching the moss. His skin glowed with soft silver light, and glowing lines traced across his chest. Up his arms, pulsing like gentle constellations. His eyes wide, calm, ancient. He reached Kalan first, placed his tiny hand on his father's side, and with a whisper of energy, the bleeding stopped, the cut vanished. Kalan blinked down, too stunned to speak. The child turned to the soldiers. His presence silenced the world. Even the wind paused. "What is this?" Viren muttered, stepping back for the first time. Soraya stepped out next, walking slowly. Her strength returned, her voice was steady. "This is what you feared. A life not controlled by bloodline or law. A life born of choice." "He's unstable," Viren spat. "He'll grow dangerous. He already bends the world around him." "Then maybe the world needed bending," Kalan growled. Viren raised her arm, energy charging in her gauntlet. "You'd destroy him?" Soraya asked quietly. "Even now, even after seeing what he is a threat to order. He is a child." Viren shouted. "He is a crack in the foundation of our people." But Torin raised one hand and the light from his body surged, not as a weapon, as a message. In that instant, every soldier saw something different. A memory, a loss, a moment they'd buried deep. They heard voices they missed. They felt the warmth of their own mother's touch, their children's laughter, their fear, their pain. Torin didn't speak, but he showed them something no law could erase. Truth, and it shattered their resolve. Weapons fell to the ground, one by one. Soldiers dropped to their knees, not in surrender, but in awe. Viren stumbled back, trembling. "What is he?" she whispered. Soraya answered with tears in her eyes. "He is what happens when hate fails, and hope survives." Viren turned to run, but it was too late. From the skies, a new ship descended, sleek, quiet, emitting no threat, only presence, and from it stepped Elder Rinus, the oldest of Soraya's clan. Her white robes shimmered like starlight, her eyes calm, her voice heavy with ancient weight. "Viren," she said firmly, "you will stand down." Viren tried to protest, but Rinus raised one hand. "The council has watched. The forest has spoken. This child is not an error. He is an answer." "To what?" Viren croaked. "To the question we never dared ask. What if we were wrong?" Silence. Viren's blade dropped, and just like that, the battle ended. That night, beneath the stars, a fire crackled gently. Kalan sat with Torin in his lap, brushing the child's soft silver hair with his fingers. Soraya rested beside them, her hand on Kalan's knee, her eyes never leaving their son's face. They didn't say much. They didn't have to. For the first time, they weren't running. The next morning, Elder Rinus approached them. "The council won't pursue you, but there's something else," she said. Kalan tensed. "What now?" "The galaxy is shifting. Old empires are waking. Ancient technologies stir. We need new bridges, new minds, new energy." She looked down at Torin. "He is not just your child. He is a signal, a new era." Kalan looked at Soraya, then back at the elder. "We didn't plan this," he said. "No," Rinus said gently, "but you chose it. And sometimes that's stronger than anything planned." Years passed. They never returned to the cave again. Kalan and Soraya made a new home on a small, neutral world called Valantia, place where humans and aliens coexisted, quietly, no borders, no empires, just learning, trading, healing. Torin grew fast, not just in height, but in understanding. By age 5, he spoke 6 languages. By age 7, he could repair both human and alien tech with his hands alone. By 9, he began teaching, but what made him remarkable wasn't his powers, it was his compassion. He healed wounded animals, he soothed angry soldiers, he walked into rooms of distrust and made people talk. Somehow he always understood. At night, he would sit with Kalen on the cliffside, his legs dangling over the edge, stars stretching above. "Do you ever wish things happened differently?" Torin asked once. Kalen smiled, eyes tired but warm. "Sometimes, but not the part where you got here." Torin leaned into his father's side. "I'm glad you carried her." Kalen placed an arm around him. "So am I." And Soraya, now a renowned scientist and energy harmonist, often said the same thing when asked about her past. She didn't tell them about the crash or the war. She only said, "He gave me life when I thought mine was ending." Across the stars, stories spread about a man who saved an alien woman from a burning ship, about a child born not of war but of choice. And on worlds where division still ruled, people whispered their names as proof that love could build what fear tried to tear apart, that family didn't need matching blood, only a shared promise, and that sometimes the strongest beings in the universe are the ones small enough to fit in your arms. They came for the child. The next morning came with no warning, no sunrise, no birdsong, only the low hum of engines in the sky and the flicker of unnatural shadows across the treetops. Kalen stood just outside the cave entrance, crouched beneath the roots, watching through a small slit he'd carved into the hillside. His breath fogged against the stone, the cold morning air sharpened with adrenaline. "They're back," he muttered. Behind him, Soraya sat wrapped in blankets, holding Torin against her chest. The child slept peacefully, glowing softly in his dreams. His breath matched hers, calm and steady, as though the storm outside didn't belong to him, but it did. "They didn't leave after the crash," Kalen said. "They were waiting." Soraya's voice was low, "waiting to confirm." He turned back, eyes grim. "Then they know." The ship above was larger than before, not a scout this time, a hunter. Its armor gleamed even in the shadowed sky. A long slit on its belly opened slowly, and from it dropped the unmistakable shimmer of a descent beam, the kind used to deploy strike teams. Kalen didn't waste time. "Go deeper," he said. "Take Torin. There's a tunnel at the back of this cave. It leads to a collapsed mineshaft. You can hide there." "I won't leave you here alone," Soraya said. "You have to. You're the mother. You have the bond. He needs you more than he needs a fighter." She stood slowly, still weak from the birth. "And what if you don't come back?" Kalen didn't answer right away. Instead, he moved closer, placed a hand on her shoulder, and looked down at the child. Torin's glow pulsed once beneath the blankets, brighter than before. The energy was evolving. "If I don't come back," he said finally, "don't run, fly. Take him as far as you can. Find a place where neither world can touch him." Her lip trembled, but she nodded. "And if they follow," Kalen's eyes hardened, "then make them regret it." He turned to the entrance, grabbed his rifle, and slung the small charge pack across his back. The rocks were loose under his boots, but his footing was firm. The moment he stepped outside, the wind hit him like a warning, and then came the noise. Branches snapping, armor clinking, voices shouting in a language that wasn't human. They were close. He dropped low and moved along the slope, hiding behind fallen trees and moss-covered stones. He could see them now, tall figures in silver and violet armor, their helmets faceless, their steps sharp, not a scouting team. A recovery force. At the center of the formation walked a woman. Her armor was older, more ornate. Gold stripes ran across her shoulders. Her face was calm, cold, cruel. Kalen didn't need an introduction. He knew a commander when he saw one. "That's her," Soraya's voice whispered through the small unit in his ear. "High Enforcer V. She was my clan's lawkeeper. She looks like the kind who doesn't ask questions. She won't. If she sees the child, she end it." Kalen gritted his teeth. Viren stepped into the clearing near the collapsed wreck of Soraya's escape pod. Her voice rang out like a hammer striking stone. "Soraya Elrava, daughter of the Murray line, you are ordered to surrender yourself and the hybrid offspring you carry." The word hybrid hissed through the trees like a curse. "You have violated the purity code. You have trespassed on a forbidden bond. And by ancient decree, that child is a contamination." Kalen didn't wait. He stood up from his hiding place, rifle aimed, feet planted firm. "I don't think you're in a position to give orders." Dozens of heads turned. Viren raised one brow. "You must be the human." "I am," he said. "And that contamination you're here to erase." "He's my son." There was a silence, sharp and cutting. Then the Enforcer's voice dropped like a dagger. "You are irrelevant. Step aside." Kalen fired the warning shot just over her shoulder. "I wasn't asking." Guards surged forward, but Viren raised Her hand, they froze. I could end you, she said. Maybe, Kalen replied, but not before I take 3 of your best with me. She studied him, not afraid, not impressed, but curious. You protect something you do not understand, she said. Kalen shook his head. I understand enough. I understand what it means to carry life into fire. I understand that love is not limited by biology. And I understand that your laws are afraid of things you can't control. Her jaw clenched. He is not meant to exist. Then maybe you are never meant to decide. Who gets to? Without warning, Viren struck. A wave of kinetic force surged from her gauntlet. Kalen dove just in time, rolling behind a thick tree. The trunk exploded into splinters. The battle began. Energy beams lit up the forest. Kalen returned fire, setting off traps he'd planted earlier, exploding vines, dirt-covered snares. 2 soldiers were knocked down instantly, but they had numbers, strength, orders. Kalen had none of that, but he had a reason. He moved like a ghost through the trees. Every shot calculated. He didn't try to win, just to delay. Every second counted, because behind him, deep inside the cave, a mother held her newborn son close, whispering ancient lullabies beneath her breath, hoping the sound would drown out the war echoing outside. And the child, the impossible child, opened his eyes for the first time. They glowed, brighter than Soraya's, brighter than the firelight, brighter than the sun. Torin blinked once, then, instinctively, his tiny hands reached out, and the stone walls around him pulsed with light. The mountain answered him, the forest answered him, and above, even the sky began to change, because the child born between 2 worlds was waking up, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The child between worlds. The hours inside the cave passed slowly. The dim light filtering through cracks in the rocks gave way to darkness, and still, no sound came from outside. The silence wasn't comfort. It was a waiting silence, the kind before a storm. Kalen sat by the entrance, eyes alert, rifle across his lap. Every now and then, he checked the scanner. Still nothing on the ground, no footsteps, no heat signatures, but the faint signal of the ship remained overhead, watching, hovering like a hawk, waiting for a mouse to run behind him. Soraya lay on the moss bedding, her skin glowing faintly in the dark. She was no longer sleeping. Her breaths were deeper now, slower, but with every inhale, her body seemed to shift, change. The energy inside her pulsed more violently than before. Kalen, ... she whispered. He turned immediately. I'm here. She reached out a trembling hand. He knelt beside her and took it, surprised at the heat of her skin. It was like touching living light. It's starting, she said. He blinked. You mean? She nodded slowly. The pulse, the child, it's not waiting. Panic crawled up his spine. But it's too soon, isn't it? I thought too soon for my people, she interrupted, her voice cracking. But this child isn't fully mine. It's something new, something reacting to your energy, to this place. He glanced around the cave. It was damp, dark, barely protected. This wasn't where a child should be born, let alone one born from 2 species. Never. Meant to create life together. Tell me what to do, he said, voice firm. Her eyes were wild now, glowing brighter with each contraction. You already are. The cave lit up briefly as a burst of energy pulsed from her body. It didn't burn, it washed over him like a wave of warmth and electricity, like standing near a thunderstorm that didn't quite strike. Kalen steadied her, adjusting the moss beneath her, laying out his emergency blankets. He opened his medical pack, though he didn't know if any of it would help. There were no books on how to deliver a half-human, half-alien child. No protocol, no procedure. All he had was instinct. And her, she screamed once long and deep. The sound echoed through the cave, shaking loose dust from the ceiling. It wasn't fear or pain alone, it was something else. A power being born. Her body arched, glowing lines running up her arms and across her face. Kalen saw symbols pulsing beneath her skin, writing maybe. Or genetic memory passed down through generations. He had no idea what it meant. He just held her hand tighter. Stay with me, he said. Breathe. You're not alone. She gritted her teeth, eyes wet now. It's pushing too fast. Another surge of light burst from her chest, and for a second it lit the whole cave like daylight. Then it faded again, and then came the sound. Not a cry, not a scream, but a chimer tone so pure, so soft. It made Kalen stop breathing. He looked down. The baby was there, tiny, wrapped in the last shimmer of Soraya's energy. His skin was pale like silver glass, and glowed with a soft lavender pulse. His eyes were shut, but his chest rose and fell with a calm rhythm. A new life, quiet, whole. Soraya collapsed back onto the moss, tears running down her cheeks. Her body trembled from exhaustion, but her face was full of wonder. "He's real," she whispered. Kaylin knelt beside her, lifting the small child into her arms. The baby curled against her chest naturally, as if he knew her already. Kaylin could hardly speak. "He's perfect," and he was no sharp alien features, no monstrous deformities, just something new, a bridge between worlds, a possibility no one had believed in, no one but her, no one but him. Soraya looked up, voice barely a whisper. "He's more than just a child." Kaylin sat down beside her, holding them both. "What do you mean he carries something ancient? My energy, your will? He was made in a moment of survival that gives him resonance." The child stirred slightly. A small hand reached out, and where it touched Kaylin's chest, he felt it, a warmth, a pulse, not just of life but of connection, that it went deeper than emotion, deeper than blood. It felt like purpose. Soraya breathed slowly, now recovering. "We'll need to name him." Kaylin stared at the boy's face. "What do names mean onto worlds?" "They mean hope," she said. He smiled faintly. "Then call him that." A quiet moment passed. "Torin," she whispered. "It means first dawn in my language." "Torin." The baby shifted in her arms again, as if the name fit him perfectly. Outside the cave, thunder rolled in the distance, but Kaylin didn't feel fear anymore. He looked at the small life now resting against Soraya's chest, and for the first time in years, he felt something return, something he thought he'd lost a long time ago. Not just courage, not just duty, he felt belonging. The child had arrived, born not in safety, not in peace, but in defiance of fear, in defiance of those who believed his kind should never exist. And Kaylin knew then he would die to protect this child, but more importantly he would live for him too. The sky that wouldn't stay quiet. 3 days had passed since Soraya woke up in Kaylin's camp. 3 days since the scanner first picked up the faint second pulse inside her, and 3 days since Callan's world stopped feeling like it only belonged to him. Each sunrise brought something new. Her strength was returning fast, faster than he expected. She now walked without assistance, even helped with basic camp tasks, cleaning tools, sorting ration packs, stitching a rip in his tent. Her movements were careful but graceful. There was something about the way she observed everything, as if she was learning the world all over again. One leaf, one sound, one human at a time. But the real change was inside. Each night Kaylin checked the scanner again, and each time the same small signal pulsed back at him, stronger now, steadier. It wasn't a glitch, it wasn't fading, it was real, and it was growing. On the morning of the 4th day, while Soraya gathered firewood near the tree line, Kaylin noticed a silence. The birds weren't singing. No rustling from the usual scavengers, not even a breeze. Then the scanner beeped. Kaylin froze. The reading wasn't from Soraya this time, it was external. Above them he grabbed his long-range scope and dashed toward the ridge. When he reached the overlook, his heart dropped. A ship, small, silver, not human design, too sleek, too silent. It hovered low, just above the treetops at the far edge of the valley, its surface blinking faintly with energy ripples. He bolted back down. Soraya looked up as he crashed into the clearing. "What is it?" "They found us," Kaylin said, breathless. She went pale. Her eyes darted to the sky. "You're sure?" "Yes. It's not one of ours. It's cloaked, but I saw the distortion. It's scouting." Soraya stood still for a moment. Her hands slowly moved to her abdomen, her fingers resting lightly over the spot where the pulse lived. "I need to run," she said. "No," Kaylin said instantly. "We'll hide. I've got a fallback cave near the lower ridge. No heat signature, no tech. It's sealed by rock and roots. They won't see it." She turned to him. "You don't understand. If they catch me, they'll kill us both, and they'll burn this entire place down to do it. We're not supposed to exist." "I do understand," he said, grabbing his gear. "That's why we're not going to let them find us." He stuffed the scanner, food pouches, and water units into a pack. Soraya didn't ask questions. She moved with him, fast and focused. They tore down the tent in seconds. He snuffed the fire, scattered the ashes, and used ash to dull their footprints. Then he turned to her. "Can you still walk that far?" "I can," she said, "but I don't know for how long. The pulse is ... stronger now. It pulls at me. Then I'll carry you when you need it." Her eyes flicked up to his face. "Again?" she asked softly. Kaylin didn't flinch. Every time, they didn't speak again until they reached the cave. The entrance was buried behind fallen branches and thorn brush. He cleared it quickly, exposing the narrow passage inside. The cave was small but deep. The ceiling dripped cold moisture. Thick moss coated the back wall. Light filtered through, just enough to see but not enough to attract attention. He helped her inside and settled her against a moss bed he'd built seasons ago for emergencies. Then he sealed the entrance again, one layer at a time, until the outside world disappeared. Inside, the silence wrapped around them. Soraya shivered, her skin glowing faintly again. She closed her eyes and exhaled. Kalen sat beside her, his jaw was tight. How long before they start searching on foot? She asked. Soon, he said. They're quiet now, but that ship's not just watching, it's tracking. Her hand moved to her stomach again. I can feel the child responding. He turned to her. How she hesitated. My species doesn't just grow life, we connect to it, feel it, nurture it through shared energy. Normally, the process is gentle. Months, sometimes years, and now it's moving fast. Too fast. Like it's matching your species' rhythm. Kalen ran a hand through his hair. What does that mean? I don't know, she said. This has never happened before. No hybrid has ever been carried to term, not on my world. They're erased before they begin. He stiffened. I still can't believe that. She looked at him, eyes filled with quiet sadness. It's not belief, it's law. Kalen stood and began pacing the cave. The old stone beneath his boots echoed. With each step, the shadows felt heavier than before. Then he stopped. What if they find us? He asked aloud. What if they land soldiers? They won't stop at finding us, she said. If they confirm what's inside me, ... they'll destroy everything. They'll declare this place contaminated. You'll be labeled a corruptor. Let them try, he growled. I've faced worse than politics. Soraya shook her head. This isn't politics, Kalen. This is bloodline warfare. They believe hybrids are a poison. If we're caught, there won't be a trial. Kalen turned to face her. Then we make sure they don't catch us. A long silence passed between them. Finally, Soraya whispered, what if the child comes? Early, he blinked. Now, I don't know. But the energy inside me is accelerating. I can feel it bonding, forming quickly. Kalen knelt beside her, his expression hardened but gentle. He placed a hand near hers, hovering just above her stomach. What if it does, he asked. What if this life, impossible as it is, chooses to be born now? She looked into his eyes. Then I'll need you. You have me. And in the quiet cave, with the storm of war growing above them, two strangers sat together, one carrying life that should not have been possible, the other, ready to fight for it, even if it meant standing alone against the stars. A pulse that didn't belong. Kalen woke before the sun rose. The air outside the tent was damp, the grass heavy with dew. The valley below his camp lay in silence, painted in grey morning mist. He could still hear the sound of her breathing behind him, steady now, softer, no longer ragged. He rolled over and sat up slowly. Soraya was cold beneath the blanket he had wrapped around her. Her face relaxed for the first time since she'd arrived. He didn't want to disturb her. She needed the rest. He stepped out into the early light and unrolled the old solar blanket to recharge his gear. The sky was starting to change colors. Purple gave way to orange. He lit a small fire, brewed a cup of dried berry tea, and took a sip while staring into the quiet horizon. He'd lived out here for a long time, on the edges of human territory. Avoided cities, avoided orders. His job was simple: scout new terrain, check for threats, mark safe paths for future colonies. It was a quiet life, and one he had chosen. He hadn't expected it to change. He hadn't expected her. Soraya stepped out of the tent minutes later, the blanket still wrapped around her. Her eyes squinted against the morning light. She moved carefully, still weak, but she was upright. You're up early, she said, her voice scratchy but more stable. Didn't sleep much, Kalen replied. She walked over and sat down beside him on the log near the fire. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The fire crackled. Somewhere in the woods, a bird began to sing. Then she said, my kind don't survive crashes like that. Our bodies, ... They shut down when too much damage occurs. It's supposed to be peaceful. Kalen looked over, but yours didn't shut down. She nodded slowly. I think it was because you touched me. I felt something, ... surge. Something warm. Something strong. He remembered the heat-burning skin, glowing veins, how his arms had tingled when he carried her. It hadn't felt natural, but it hadn't felt dangerous either. It felt connected. Soraya lifted her hand and held it near the firelight. The skin shimmered faintly, not just from light but from within. She frowned and pressed her palm gently to her stomach. I've been feeling something, she said, almost as if thinking aloud. Not pain, not quite, more like a rhythm. Kalen turned toward her, his brow furrowed. A rhythm, she nodded. A pulse, but not mine. It's single quotes, separate, small, Something shifted in the air between them. He reached slowly for his scanner and offered it to her. She didn't flinch. She took it carefully, turned it on, and placed it over her lower abdomen. The device hummed, then beeped. Kaylin leaned in to read the screen. It showed her vitals, first stabilizing, now healing faster than anything human. But beneath that, another signal appeared. Faint, but unmistakable. A second pulse. Slower, not hers. They stared at the screen together. That's not possible, Kaylin said, trying to control his voice. Soraya swallowed hard. Our species, ... We don't reproduce by accident. Our biology is controlled, precise. Conception requires shared will, deep bonding, months of ritual energy alignment. Kaylin stared at her. Are you saying? I'm saying this wasn't supposed to happen, but it has. She looked up at him, her glowing eyes wide with something between fear and awe. Your energy must have fused with mine when I was dying. My body tried to survive, and it used what was closest, a child. The word wasn't spoken. It didn't have to be. It hung there, heavier than anything the scanner could measure. Kaylin stood up and backed away, still holding the device. But we didn't, he started. I know, Soraya said quickly. There was no physical union. Not the human way, but my kind, ... We aren't built only on physical things. We bond through energy, through will, through purpose. Kaylin sat down again slowly. His mind raced. He had saved an alien girl from a wreck. Now she was sitting beside him, glowing faintly, and carrying a life created from the act of rescue. He had spent years running from connection, from ties, from people, and now this. I don't know how to feel about this, he said. I don't, either, Soraya replied, her voice soft. They sat in silence, the scanner still blinking softly between them. After a while, she said, there's something else. What I think they're looking for me. Kaylin's head snapped toward her. Who? The ones who attacked my ship, or others from my world. If they trace the signal from my pod, they'll come here, to rescue you, to erase me, she said. My people don't allow uncontrolled breeding, especially not with outsiders. Kaylin clenched his fists. You're telling me they'd kill you over this, and the child too, she whispered. Something deep in Kaylin's chest hardened. A part of him that had gone quiet years ago stirred again. The same part that once fought for others, that once believed in protecting something greater than himself. He looked at her, really looked. I won't let them. Her breath caught. She blinked at him, as if not expecting him to say it so plainly. I don't know how this happened, he said, and I don't know what it means, but I carried you from that crash because I couldn't let you die. And now, ... He glanced down at the scanner again. Now I'm not just protecting you. I'm protecting what we made. Whatever it is, whoever it becomes. Soraya stared at him, her expression unreadable. Then, slowly, she reached out and took his hand. Her fingers were warm, but steady now. No more panic, no more fever, ... just trust, ... and that was enough for now. A stranger in the firelight. The wind outside had grown sharp. It hissed through the trees like whispered warnings from the dark. Kaylin sat inside the tent, eyes fixed on the sleeping alien girl, watching for any change in her breathing. Her wounds were mostly dressed now, but her skin still shimmered like heat waves. It wasn't fever. It wasn't infection. It was something he couldn't explain, something alive in her blood. The small space heater crackled softly, its orange glow casting long shadows against the tent walls. Her chest rose and fell slowly, but each breath came a little smoother. She had said so little before passing out again, only that her ship had been attacked, that she escaped. She hadn't said who attacked her or why. Maybe she didn't know. Maybe she didn't trust him yet. He didn't blame her. Kaylin reached for his scanner and ran another check. The results came up strange, unstable biometrics, signs of trauma, but also something else. A low-frequency energy signature pulsing from her core, almost rhythmic, almost like his thoughts were interrupted by a sound. A gasp. She was awake. Again her glowing eyes stared at the ceiling, unfocused, as if caught between sleep and memory. Then she turned her head toward him. You're still here, she said weakly. He nodded. Didn't plan on leaving. A faint smile touched her lips, though it disappeared almost instantly. She tried to sit up and winced. Kaylin reached to help, but she raised her hand to stop him. Slowly, with effort, she pushed herself into a sitting position, wrapped in his jacket. What's your name? She asked after a pause. Kaylin. I am ... Soraya. He repeated the name softly. Soraya, she nodded, then glanced around the small tent at the tools, the maps, the makeshift shelves built into the side poles. Her gaze lingered on the drawings he had sketched in charcoal on the fabric walls. Valleys, mountains, old ruins. It was the life of a lone scout, recorded in shadows. You live here. I travel, he said. Scan terrain, find safe paths. For settlement teams, I wasn't expecting company. I didn't mean to land here. I know silence settled between them for a while. The wind outside eased. The fire crackled again. Finally, Soraya said, I wasn't supposed to survive that crash. Kalen looked at her. But you did. Because of you. He shifted, unsure what to say. He didn't do it for thanks. He hadn't even thought about it. He'd seen a life sign and moved. That was all. But now that she was awake, now that her eyes held his with something almost human, he felt the weight of that decision settle on him. Soraya reached up and touched the edge of her shoulder. The bandage there was already fading beneath her skin. The wound had closed completely. Her body healed fast, too fast. You're not like any species I've catalogued, Kalen said carefully. No, she agreed. And I'm not supposed to mix with yours. He raised an eyebrow. Mix, touch, bond, speak too long. We don't share our presence. It's dangerous for us. You think I'm dangerous? Soraya looked at him again. No, that's the problem. I don't feel danger from you. I feel ... something else. Kalen didn't respond. The words weren't hostile. They were hesitant, searching, like a confession whispered to the dark. I didn't come from a peaceful world, she added. We don't help strangers. We don't ... trust. But you trusted me. She didn't answer that directly. Instead, she asked, when you carried me ... did you feel it? Feel what? The heat, the pulse, the ... link. He remembered the moment, her body burning against his. Not from fever, but from something else. Energy maybe, or something deeper. He thought it was just adrenaline, fear, urgency. Now he wasn't sure. I felt something, he admitted, but I didn't know what it meant. Neither do I, she whispered. They sat in silence again. The firelight dancing on the tense walls like stories waiting to be told. Outside an owl called out. Then nothing. Kalen stood and moved to the cooking kit. He poured water into a small tin pot, added some powdered broth, and let it simmer. You should eat something, he said. Soraya hesitated, then slowly nodded. He handed her a steaming tin cup. She held it carefully with both hands, sniffed it, then took a sip. Her face twitched slightly. The taste was probably strange to her, but she didn't spit it out. She drank slowly, thoughtfully. I thought I was going to die out there, she said quietly. I had accepted it. But you didn't, Kalen said. No, she said. You changed that. He didn't answer. Her words felt heavier than the night around them. After finishing the broth, she leaned back against the tent wall. Her body seemed more relaxed now, less on edge. Her eyes closed again, not from weakness, but from something gentler. Trust, maybe, or the first taste of safety in a long time. Kalen watched her for a moment longer, then turned his gaze to the stars above the tent's skylight. They were bright tonight, clear somewhere. Someone had fired on her ship. Somewhere, someone might come looking. But for now, here in this quiet pocket of wilderness, it was just them, and for reasons neither of them understood yet, that meant something. He carried the wounded alien girl to safety. He never expected to be the father of her child. The sky above the Ravari cliffs cracked open in fire. A streak of light tore through the clouds, too fast for any bird, too slow for a comet. The object screamed as it fell, trailing smoke and flickering debris like a dying star. Moments later, a shockwave rolled through the valley. Trees bent, stones shifted. The animals in the forest below scattered in panic. Kalen had been alone out there, as he usually was, exploring, scanning mineral veins, mapping lands untouched for generations. His small camp stood a short hike from the cliffs, where his scanners hummed and his heater glowed low orange. He had just returned with his satchel of geodes when the sky cracked open. His eyes caught the fire trail. It disappeared beyond the trees. His handheld scanner vibrated softly, a faint energy spike, not natural. Something had crashed, and something inside it was still alive. He dropped everything and ran. The terrain was steep, muddy from recent rains. Rocks shifted beneath his boots, but he didn't slow down. The valley floor was still smoking when he arrived. In the middle of it all was the wreckage, twisted metal, crushed hull plates, blackened edges of what had once been a sleek escape pod. Not a transport, not a fighter, something meant to survive, something that hadn't. Sparks popped near the hatch, where one side had folded inward. Kalen crouched low, eyes scanning for movement. A weak beeping reached his ears, an emergency signal, low priority, still active. That meant someone was inside. He approached with caution. The outer door was half melted but loose. He grabbed it and pulled. The door groaned open. Smoke spilled out. The smell of burned plastic and ozone filled the air. He waved it away and stepped in. And there she was, curled near the rear wall, body twisted at an unnatural angle, blood dripping in slow arcs onto the metal floor. Not red blood, something lighter, glowing faintly in the dim light. Her skin was smooth and lavender, patterned with faint silver lines like veins of starlight. Long hair spilled over her shoulders in a silvery curtain, tangled and scorched. At the tips, Kaylin knelt beside her. She was breathing, but it was ragged, like her lungs were filled with ash. Her side had been pierced by metal shrapnel. Her clothes, which looked like a blend of armor and fabric, were torn open in places. A cracked breathing mask lay nearby, useless now. Her eyes flickered open as he reached out. They were not human, a soft, glowing, blue-shimmering, barely focused. She looked at him without recognition. Then her lips moved. Help. The voice was no more than a breath. Then her body went limp. Without thinking, he moved. He slid his arms beneath her, careful to avoid her injuries. Her body was lighter than he expected, but she burned with fever. The heat radiating off her skin felt wrong. It wasn't just blood loss. Her entire system was shutting down. Kaylin wrapped his jacket around her as best he could and began the climb out. The path back was longer with her in his arms. Wind picked up as night began to fall. By the time he reached camp, he was soaked with sweat, panting, every step slower than the last dot inside the tent. He laid her on the padded mat and unwrapped her carefully. He turned up the portable heater and soaked clean cloths in warm water. Her skin glowed faintly where he touched it. The cuts were shallow but strange. They pulsed, almost as if alive. He applied pressure where needed, cleaned what he could, and used medical tape to bind the worst of it. For hours, she didn't stir. The fire outside crackled weakly in the wind. The tent shook once or twice as gusts passed, but Kaylin didn't leave her side. He sat on the edge of the mat, wiping sweat from his brow, trying to understand what had just happened. Who was she? Why was she in that pod? And what kind of species? Burned like a star when wounded. It was late into the night when she gasped suddenly. Kaylin jumped. Her eyes opened wide, glowing brighter now. She thrashed, hands flailing, voice panicked in a language she didn't know, sharp and melodic, like song fragments turned into alarm calls. Hey, he said, holding his hands up. It's okay, you're safe now. She pushed herself up with trembling arms, her gaze locked onto his face. Confused, terrified, she tried to crawl away but collapsed again, body too weak. He knelt beside her and slowly offered a flask of water. She hesitated, then took it. Her fingers trembled as she drank. You're human? She asked, voice low and cracked. He blinked. Yes, I'm Kaylin. Her breathing slowed. She laid back, staring at the tent roof. They shot my ship. I escaped. Didn't know where I'd land. Kaylin nodded. You crashed hard. You're lucky to be alive. She closed her eyes. Wasn't luck. You found me. He didn't respond. He didn't have words for the strange twist of feeling in his chest. Later, when she was asleep again, he stepped outside. The stars were clear above the cliffs. Somewhere out there was her homeworld. Somewhere out there, someone had tried to kill her, and somehow, she was now here, in his tent, alive because of him. Kaylin didn't know what this meant, but he knew one thing: he was no longer alone, and neither was she.